were a media sensation in the first recorded quintuplets to survive infancy. Born to poor people, the Canadian authorities took the children from their parents and turned them into a tourist attraction called Quintland. Nairanam Shah was a teenage boy from India who was wrongly sentenced to have his life taken from him when he spent years in prison, including years on death row, before the Supreme Court freed him after confirming he was a juvenile at the time of the incident. In NASA used the song Paralyzed by the legendary Stardust Cowboy to wake up a space crew. They were so disoriented by the shock that the song was blacklisted from ever being used for that purpose again. Bosnia's teenage boy from India who was wrongly sentenced to have his life taken from him when he spent years in prison, including years on death row, before the Supreme Court freed him after confirming he was a juvenile at the time of the incident. In NASA used the song Paralyzed by the legendary Stardust Cowboy to wake up a space crew. They were so disoriented by the shock that the song was blacklisted from ever being used for that purpose again. Bosnia's currency, the convertible mark, was originally divided into fine, named after /th of a German mark. However, since it was seen as unpronounceable in Bosnian, it was renamed Fenig, but banknotes and coins misspelled it as fun ing G instead of Nig, which has never been corrected. Marvel's editor-in-chief posed as a Japanese man for years to be able to write while an editor. The release of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles sequel got held up by a British censor who worried that kids would start using sausages as nunchucks. There's something called Krishnacore, which is a subgenre of hardcore punk that draws inspiration from Hare Krishna tradition. In Mazdas had dashboards that would melt and turn into sticky glue-like substance when used in places with notably hot summers. The Craspedusta sour bay is the only species of freshwater jellyfish native to North America. They are harmless to humans. Blairmore, Alberta, had a communist government in the s. Elephants were used by the British during World War II, though for non-combat purposes. They were used in Burma in both retreat and liberation. Earl of Sandwich owns a chain of sandwich shops. The greatest dressed weight for a turkey is kg or lb. For a stag named Tyson reared by Philip Cook of Lear Croft Turkeys Limited in Peterborough, UK. It won the last annual heaviest turkey competition held in London on the th of December. It was auctioned for charity at a record lb, which was then almost $. Life expectancy in the United States differs by as much as years or more between counties, with the disparity between highest and lowest rising between an couple and R and amp, B. Duogon and Ununis had two nearly identical versions of the song Cook Amo from two different record labels chart at the same time in the 5 stages of grief model is considered scientifically unverified, and many experts caution against taking it at face value. In the th century, massive riots occurred in Amsterdam that had to be violently put down by the military. The riots were started because the police stopped people from playing a game called eel pulling music, where you pull the head off of a hanging eel while sailing down the canal on a boat. Gee, I can't imagine why that was stopped. Strange. There are around varieties of beans, and they all make a toot, right? Condemned criminals in th. Century London were allowed to stop at a tavern for one last drink on their way to Tyburn. In The Highwayman, Joseph Blake drank so heavily he slurred his last words from the gallows. In the Hotel d'Arenado in San Diego, California, unveiled the world's first electrically lit outdoor Christmas tree. Most of Costco's profits comes from its membership fees and not product sales. In percent of company profits came from membership fees. Between and the mayor of Longcott kept people as slaves on his personal oil palm plantation where they were kept in cages in his backyard. They were only discovered after the mayor was caught for bribery. At least 3 people passed away from what happened. Asapita, a common spice in Indian cooking, is also known as devil's dung. The biggest benefit of drinking pickle juice is the ability to quickly stop cramping. The drink has been found to stop cramping % faster than drinking water, which is why it's favored by athletes. The insane clown Posey paid Old Dirty Bastard $1 to rap on a song. But ODB recorded some barely coherent ramblings about it. Took ICP a week to assemble just 4 rhymes out of his rambling and had to re-record the track and title it India Lost $1 million in international arbitration, partly because the government ministry handling the case didn't know that their own investigative agency had filed corruption charges against the same company during the hearings on American highways. The me marker signs are frequently stolen. As a result, Colorado, for example, began replacing them with the mile ones. The UK,